And you are watching another edition of Blewett's Blitz. On today's short video, we're going to be looking at one Jelani Woods, 6'7", 253, drafted a few years ago. In 2022, had some decent stats, 25 receptions, 312 yards, 3 touchdowns in his rookie year. Missed the 2023 season because of multiple hamstring injuries, and then 2024, I believe it was a toe. Started to show out a little bit in the preseason. The Jets claimed him off of waivers. So a very intriguing option for the Jets. Today, we'll be going over 9 plays of Jelani Woods' main strengths, about 6 of those plays, and 2 or 3 plays of his main weaknesses. So let's get into it. First play, we have Woods split out right here. He did play all over the field, whether that be Y, tight end, flexed out, isolated, in bunches, things like that. So he did play all over the place. And one of the first strengths we're going to see with him is his size, the physicality. And then there is some route running upside, and there's some flashes of really good route running from Jelani Woods. So we're going to see him right here. I'll play it through first. He runs a over route verse 22, and is able to secure a contested catch for a touchdown. There's really not much nuance here. There's really not a lot to break down in terms of the actual route running. There actually is, I guess, a tiny bit, right? So first step, his right foot's up. We got a split release, right? So that foot comes back about halfway between where his back foot is and where his front foot is. So split step, just gathering some information from 22 here. Jab towards 22. Dips the outside shoulder from 22, so he's not able to get a good contact point, even though he does land it into the chest. But Jelani Woods is able to fight him off, dip that left shoulder into the chest of 22, push off as he breaks to the inside, creating just a yard of separation. Nothing too crazy here in terms of separation, but enough to bring in a contested touchdown, right? So we have and he plays to his 4.61 40 time, by the way. That's not something like, hey, he tests like that. He doesn't actually play like that. But then good release, split release, stab towards him. Tries to dip that shoulder. You have 22 who still lands the hand inside, but it's okay because with Jelani Woods' size and just strength, he's able to take it vertical just another step, push off with that left arm, creating that separation. And then you have the catch point where he does a good job coming back to the ball, attacking the ball. Hands are a little bit wide, and we'll talk about the catch technique in the longer review, and maybe even a little bit in this. His hands are inconsistent. They're strong, but his catch technique is not always up to par. So hands are a little bit wide, and he's still able to clap on that ball, bring it in, pull it away for the touchdown. So good start to the review from Jelani. All right, next play from Jelani Woods. He's lined up right here as a Y tight end, and he ends up running a corner sail route. Play it through first, and we'll talk about it a little bit. Again, another example of some good route running, the physicality, the athleticism to adjust to that ball. So he takes an outside release. It looks like you have the linebackers who are just kind of playing off, whether they be the 2 and the 3, the 1 and the 2. They pass off if there's a quick 3 or a quick running back to the flat, basically. So linebacker is in coverage on 28. So then this linebacker picks up Jelani Woods, takes it vertical. Good timing of the push off, adjustment to the ball. Again, nothing overly crazy with this one in terms of technique or anything like that. It is good, obviously, timing the break, the right step with the push off. Again, just creating that yard or 2 of separation for Woods. You have Matt Ryan, who's in a little bit of a murky situation. At least he feels like he's in a murky situation, kind of fading out of the throw. So the throw is behind Jelani Woods. In real time, he has to adjust to this ball. Again, hands a little bit wide, but he's able to come back to that ball and catch it. We'll play it one more time through, but you could see it's not really a good example of his speed. He's slow playing a little bit, but it's a good example of some of the route running with pushing off there. When you are that size, you have to know how to use your size. It's not just a thing where, hey, I'm big means I'm going to be able to bring in contested balls and run routes, physically and stuff like that. You have to know how to use it, how to lean into guys, how to use stair steps, how to push off, how to attack balls late on contested catches, etc. So another good example of him using that size and then the athleticism again to adjust to said ball. All right, another play showing off some of his physicality and his route running ability here. He's on the bottom right here, isolated versus this safety corner. And he does a good job of initially stemming, and we'll see this. He stems towards the corner. He wants to win that outside shoulder because he's running an out route. So initially he takes an outside stem, to win outside leverage. And then we're going to see him use a push off to create some separation and quite a bit of separation. And, we have borderline offensive pass interference here. It was not called. There are players who kind of they trickle on that border. You have guys like, I'm not comparing him to George Pickens, but a guy who pretty frequently commits OPIs. It's going to happen. And with a guy who's as physical as he is and as big as he is, and a guy who kind of knows how to use it at times, he does a good job specifically on this rep. Now, again, takes that outside release to win the outside shoulder of 7. 7 kind of squats on the route a little bit more. Jelani Woods lowers his shoulder into him, gets that left kind of chicken, for lack of a better term, or kind of actually is the term, that chicken wing into him, pushes off, break, drive. And the one thing I want you to notice too with this rep from Jelani Woods is, even though he's pushing off of another 200-pound man, 210, wherever this number 7 is, look how good he gets out of his break. So it's the break step right there with the left. Next step with the right is the drive line. You see how flat that is? Like, so he's not just a guy who's tall and can't really get out of his breaks because of his legs. He actually does get out of his breaks pretty well for his size, because it's not easy to turn over your kind of your break step right there and get your drive step that tight. Break, drive, sorry, your line step over your drive step like that. That's some flexibility right there from Jelani Woods. Again, understand the guy is 6'7", 253, breaking like that. So again, really good job winning outside leverage with the stem, lowering your shoulder into him, using your physicality. Obviously the break, again, the flexibility in the lower body to get out of that break, and creates plenty of separation. And if the quarterback was looking there, it's an easy completion for Jelani Woods. All right, another example of Jelani Woods and some of his physicality, and there's some good and bad in this play. He's isolated again on the bottom right here against this defensive back, and the route, he takes an outside stem. He gears it down. So he takes outside stem, takes it vertical to again win that inside shoulder of the DB. So initially the DB is outside leverage. He wants to hold him outside leverage, so he's going to stem him. If he starts stemming vertically or to the inside, DB may jump, heads up or jump even inside leverage. So he wants to hold him where he is, because he's trying to win an inside route. So good job initially stemming to the outside, hold him to the outside. This foot right, this left step right here gets him vertical to the inside shoulder, pushes off the inside shoulder. He gears down a little bit. I'd almost like to see him take a little bit, instead of those short choppy steps, just kind of blow through that inside shoulder right there. Nonetheless, pushes off. The DB does a good job of staying on that route. But Jelani Woods, good catch radius, good like flexibility, just overall athleticism to catch that ball over the middle. And obviously it's a contested catch situation, so I'm not going to be overly critical. But there are some examples of him, again, with bad catch technique in terms of his hands being really wide. And he does a good job, obviously, of extending towards this ball. But it's a little bit hard to see because of just the graininess of the video, not my video quality, but the NFL whatever's website video quality. But you can see he doesn't catch this ball cleanly. He kind of has to bobble it. You really want to catch the nose of the football to the midpoint of the football. Looks like he catches the middle and it slips through the back, and he's kind of juggling it a little bit. So it's a good example of, okay, yeah, he can run routes. He pushes off with physicality, contested catch, but not amazing catch technique. And again, I know I'm being critical. I'm critical for a reason. It's because some of these plays you will see drops from Jelani Woods, and we'll get into that in the weaknesses. So don't just think, oh, you're being critical for no reason. It's not a problem. It is a problem at times. His hands are a little bit inconsistent. And in this play, while it being a good play, we could see a little bit of the reason why. Bobbles it, and then obviously drags a guy for just another 2 or 3 yards for a little bit of yak there. This is an easy one. Again, another situation right here where you have Jelani Woods, top of the screen, isolated versus this DB. This one's just showing pure athleticism and how well he can get out of his breaks. Again, for a guy who's 6'7", 253, he definitely moves very well. It's not just like the underwear Olympics and he plays like he's a 4'8" guy. He plays like he's a legitimate 4'6" guy. So top of the screen right here, we're going to watch him run a speed out, I believe, versus this DB. You can see the acceleration off the line, the break right there. He does a good job of getting on the DB's toes. DB's a little bit outside leverage, so he stems him to the outside, get it on the DB toes quickly, selling that drive phase, making the DB retreat, get on his heels a little bit, And he leans a little bit. There are some times with his route running. Again, we'll get into it in the full review that I want to see him commit to his stop steps and his break steps a little bit more. Like he's very high into this break, and we can see he's even leaning into it a little bit, which tips off good DBs that the break is coming. And break, even the break foot, he turns out of it a little bit more. You want to like almost sink into it and slam off of it. He's leaning out of it. Nonetheless, even with not great form, look how tight the break is. He breaks at the 37-yard line. He breaks at like the 37.5-yard line and flattens it out at 35 for a guy who's that big on a speed cut. Pretty good. Again, just watch the speed and watch the athleticism from him here. DB trips up. Obviously, he's not targeted, but I thought a good example of just that, overall athleticism in terms of speed and cutting ability. All right, we're at about the midpoint of the video, if not a little bit more. I do want to remind people to just like, comment, subscribe. The comments and the like, it kind of throws us a bone in the YouTube algorithm and it gets out to other people. So I'd appreciate it. Obviously, a lot of hard work here. Make sure that if you like the short video, go watch the long video as well. You're only getting a little bit of the strengths and weaknesses in this video. In the full video, if you're a JetX subscriber, you get an entire formulated list of strengths and weaknesses. So make sure to go check that out. All right, from the last play, from the positives of Jelani Woods, we have the blocking. Definitely inconsistent as a blocker. A little bit high waisted, so he's not the best like build in terms of just his overall build in terms of like creating power and strength and things like that. But still, plenty physical, plenty willing. Has the strength. You're hoping it's an area he improves a little bit, but I'm taking him over Jeremy Ruckert, which isn't saying much. But we have I believe it's a counter OH here. You have Jelani Woods, who's in motion right here. He's going to kick out the end, and then you have the lead blocker right here in the left guard. So he's going to be responsible for this D end, and we'll see some technique that's not necessarily the greatest from Jelani Woods. There's some good, there's some bad here. We see the willingness from Jelani Woods, and he does just enough to get in the way of this DN. Now, ideally we get hands inside, we drive them, we create a big lane for 21 here. But just showing willingness. One other thing I like too is that he's not overzealous here. We could see that it's a little bit slow played from that tight end on the other side here. So he doesn't want to rush to the outside here, get too flat, and then him take on that inside shoulder. So he does a good job of running his feet, being patient, keeping himself clean, ducking his head, outside shoulder versus inside shoulder. So he does a good job in terms of where he wants to be with leverage, drops the weight, instep working up and through his hips into the defender. Now, the thing we do want to see is, we don't want to see ducking the head. Ideally, we want to see good hand placement with the right hand into the chest, the left hand over top. We want to steer him outside. He's not able to do that. The right hand doesn't get any good hand positioning at all. It just rubs off. He almost like throws a fist out there. He's not really trying to get good contact. And eventually kind of ends up hugging him. So want to see a little bit better form in terms of the actual block, but I like the willingness here from Jelani Woods. Drives his foot a little bit. And it's not the prettiest block in the world, but he does enough. He does enough to hold up that defensive end, so we will take it. There is upside as a blocker. Overall, I would say he's a below average to just not good blocker. He can develop, this is his rookie year when we're watching this. So you're hoping, obviously, it's something that he can continue to develop with the Jets. All right, we now get into the bad of Jelani Woods. And again, I said he's a below average to just flat out, bad or not good blocker. I'm not gonna say bad. It's definitely below average nonetheless. So he's right here. They run duo. He's trying to kick out 56 on this play, and we see him get kind of dominated at the point of attack right there. And again, it's not for lack of physicality or lack of trying for Jelani Woods. It's really a technique thing most times with him. So what do we see here when he comes in the contact point? A few things, right? We got bending from the waist, right? Ideally, we want to be like linear, like up and through our heels, leaning forward with our back arched and go up and through a guy. We don't want this type of stuff because it's not powerful. When you bend at the waist, you're kind of deflecting your force from the ground, so you don't want that. Two, the punch, right? The punch is wide. Now, if he was on the backside, let's say this is like a inside zone away, wide zone, something like that. If you just hug a guy, okay, the likelihood of him getting into this play, if it's going opposite, is very unlikely. So that's a little bit different of a situation. But you're more front side on this duo play. You know, he's working towards your side of the field. You want to get a better contact point. So bending from the waist, hands are wide. The 56 controls his chest and is able to shed him and then make the tackle on the running back. So one thing I want to see him do too is I want to see him cover the gap a little bit better. Ideally, so he doesn't get his face crossed. He works a little bit more vertically here and then kicks him out. You don't want to stay flat like this because there is a chance that this guy can cross your face. It's a little bit nitpicky, but I've seen it happen. So, but the main 2 points here is one, bending from the waist, two hands are wide, and actually three. The thing another thing I do want to highlight is he's not really bringing his base into the block with him. Like he's kind of letting 56 dictate the block to him. He's just trying to catch him. Again, we want to run our feet. We want to get good hand positioning. We want to be not deflecting our force from bending from the waist. So there's three things there that individually can blow a block. When you put all of those together in one block, you're not going to win it. This is a quick and easy one. We have Jelani Woods to the left side of your screen here. Just kind of proving my point that I'm not going to say his hands are bad. I think they're kind of average. I think they're strong. Like, I think he has strong grip strength, but his catch form needs to be more consistent. So he's going to run, I believe it's a drag right here, and just drop a very easy ball from Matt Ryan. Now, the ball is low, or the ball is behind him a little bit. So you have to factor that in, but still, obviously, this needs to be a catch 100 times out of 100 for an NFL athlete. So what do we see in terms of the problem with the hands right here is how wide are the hands? You know, again, we want those hands to be, if not a diamond, very tight to a diamond. When your hands are wide, you go to clap a ball. Again, when you go to clap it, the ball tends to squirt through your hands. You're not catching the nose of it, you know. So hands are very wide, goes directly through the hands, drops it. Okay. So there are examples of that in his film. It's a thing that he needs to work on in terms of just being more, not deliberate, but just being more technically sound, I guess, as a pass catcher. Last play of the short review. We have Jelani Woods right here. It's an inverted tight slot split. And he runs a slot fade right here. And this is a play that it's like a play that I'm not going to overly criticize him of. I just want to make some points here. With contested catches, it was a little bit inconsistent. There was really nice contested catches. There were some that I wanted to see him make. And we'll go over why this is not an easy play for him to make. Obviously, the corner does a good job. But we can also talk about how he can improve a little bit in this specific contested catch situation. So runs that slot fade. The one thing I do want to see from him on this play is a little bit later hands. You see how he's working back to the ball and loses contact with that DB pretty early, allowing the DB to get his hand in there. You want to see him maintain contact with that DB just another half second to a second longer. Use your physicality, use your reach, and push him off of you. He does have 34-inch arms, which is ridiculous. So attack the ball later here. Again, when you're looking back to it and losing contact that early into the route, you're giving the DB a bit of time to work into the hands. Again, the DB does a good job of punching through the arm. Now you have Jelani Woods, who has both of his hands on the ball as he's falling down, but the DB kind of rips the one arm away from the ball. So now he only has it with one hand, which you're going to really be able to catch it unless you're squeezing the hell out of that ball. So good job by the DB. Again, no doubt about it. Pulling the hand away, not allowing Jelani Woods to catch that ball. But with Jelani Woods, again, maintain contact for a little bit longer. Use your physicality. Push off a little bit more. Attack the ball later. Don't give him as much time to rake your arm away from the ball. So again, a play that initially, you'd be like, okay, you can't really blame him for that one. Yeah, you'd like to see him make that play, but there are technical areas where he could improve on that play. So that is it for the short review for Jelani Woods. I do want to remind people, go to Jets X Factor. A lot of great articles there. We're dropping multiple articles a day. Nania, Sabo, all of our great writers. Make sure if you like this video, 15, 20, 25. Sometimes I think it's 20 minutes and it's 45 minutes. If you like these, go and subscribe to the YouTube at the minimum, $3 a month. You get the entire review. And even if you don't want to watch the full review, fine. If you want to fast forward to the last 2 minutes where I give the list of strengths and weaknesses, do that. But I appreciate you guys, and I will see you next with some Briggs, with some Phillips, and with some Asa poll reviews.